Opposition leader Peter Dutton is calling on the immigration minister to block Kanye West from coming to Australia. The controversial rapper is planning to visit his new in-laws in Melbourne next week after marrying Australian architect Bianca Censori. But there are calls to have him blocked after Kanye's repeated discriminatory comments about Jewish people and praise of Hitler.
Are disgraceful. His conduct and his behaviour is appalling, and he's not a person of good character, and the minister has the ability to stop somebody coming into our country of bad character. So the minister's got a lot to weigh up, but I must say my instinct would be, if I was that decision maker, I'd think there are better people that we could welcome in.
Joining me live now is Peter Wertheim. He's co-CEO of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. Peter, thanks for your time. You've written to the Immigration Minister yourself and on behalf of the Council. What's the message?
Well, the message is that this is an individual who carries a lot of influence, who over the last few months has made hateful and threatening comments in a very high-profile way against Jewish people and also against others as well. A few months ago, he was excluded from a couple of social media platforms for threatening to go, in his words, DEFCON 3 against Jewish people. And as recently as 7 weeks ago, he went on a TV program and did an interview in the United States, expressing admiration for Adolf Hitler, describing himself as a Nazi. Now, bear in mind, Kanye West is of African American background. He would have been regarded by the Nazis as racially inferior. But you can't dismiss these sorts of comments as just the rantings of a clown. These are very serious because of the enormous influence that he has amongst his fan base as a musician and as a fashion icon. He has millions of fans around the world. I'm not one of them, but his capacity to influence younger people in particular is enormous, and to inject that sort of racist poison into the cultural mainstream is something we just don't need in Australia.
What sort of reaction have you received from the federal government, Peter?
Well, we had a sympathetic hearing this morning, but at the end of the day, this is a matter for the minister. It's in the minister's discretion. The minister can refuse a visa or grant one subject to conditions. We've made the case that this particular individual does not meet the character test, and that it would be in the national interest not to grant him a visa. And we've set out our reasons in some detail in that letter, and we'll await the reply with interest. But really, in a peaceful, cohesive society like Australia, that sort of celebrity can create a lot of damage. I mean, if he were to be allowed here, and we hope that he won't be, but if he were to be allowed to come to Australia, there's no question he'll be besieged by the media. That's exactly the wrong way, I think, to treat a person like that. But that's the world we live in. And I mean, it's okay, visiting in-laws is one thing, but there's no guarantee that he won't be pulling other stunts while he's here along the lines of the behaviour he's exhibited in the United States.
Exactly. Yeah, and it comes at a pretty delicate time, doesn't it? Because my understanding is, this Friday is an important day in terms of Holocaust remembrance, and you've got some analysis that suggests that anti-Semitism has been on the rise.
That's exactly right, Kieran. This Friday is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's officially acknowledged in Australia, as it is in many other countries around the world. And yes, we will be releasing our annual report on anti-Semitism in Australia for the year just finished. And it does show a significant increase over the last 2 years in particular. And so it would be a peculiar thing, to say the least, for Australia to be acknowledging the 78th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz extermination camp on the one hand, and then follow that shortly thereafter by granting a visa to somebody who has openly aligned himself with the very regime that perpetrated those crimes.
Yep, and as you say, the timing wouldn't be great on that front. Peter Wertheim, co-CEO of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, I very much appreciate your time and your reflections on that today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kieran.